Okay, looks like hopefully I'm live now. So I'm Patrick Bailey with IQS.com. Oh, we are not quite live yet, are we? No, I think we're live. Okay. And so today, I'm going to go over something I've been thinking about. So recently I did a video and a print, which hopefully I'm showing on the screen here. It's on Thingiverse, happens to be thing 3960185, the Lord of the Rings, Doors of Durin, Guest Wi-Fi. And so the idea behind that was, and I explained in that video, is I set up a separate Wi-Fi network in my house, and I wanted to post the password to it in my house somewhere. And so I wanted to kind of do this little cool thing. And there's a whole video on that, you can watch that. But I thought it was interesting, so I decided I wanted to kind of make a more video tutorial, training, something teachers can use or students can use. But I wanted to choose a different subject. And so this time I chose Harry Potter. So if anyone is out there, you can say hello. Hello, folks. Looks like no one's out there right now. So we'll see how it goes. According to what I'm seeing right now, there's no concurrent viewers. But we'll give a little bit of time. I don't know, how do you do these live streams when you're so not guaranteed to have people log in? There was 2 concurrent viewers. Okay, but anyway, so people can review this later on. We'll just start doing this class. So the idea is, I want to do the same idea, but more of a Harry Potter theme. So I found this, and I thought it'd be a real cool idea to do Harry Potter's Platform 93 Quarters, so that you could do, if you had some guest Wi-Fi, you could call it Platform 93 Quarters or some Harry Potter theme kind of thing, and you could stick this up on your wall and then put a passcode underneath it. So, but this time I thought this would be really good with a pattern of it to do an Openscad. So we'll just start on that, and if anyone's out there, you can say hi or in the chat. So anyway, here's this idea. I think this will work really well in Openscad. And so there's a couple of things. It takes a little bit to figure this out. I'll put some links in the show notes when I do post this. I found some Harry Potter fonts that I'm not using specifically for this thing, but I might use for the password. Also, another thing I downloaded, there's this font viewer. Let's see if I open that for Windows. Let's see, Font View OK, which you can download, and then you can view all the fonts on your system. So I was trying to find a font, 9 3/4, that was on my system that happened to work well enough. And I found one that's working well enough, and so we'll go with that. And then also here, I took some notes on some of the idea. Let's see if I can shrink it down. Part of it is also how you do the layering, because I don't have a multicolored printer, so how you can do the layering. And so let's see if I can zoom in here. So you can see, if you look here, the bottom is going to be black, but you can see there's kind of this little channel there. And so what I was going to do is do that whole thing in black, 2 millimeters on the bottom, 1 millimeter there. So that's going to be all black for the first 3 millimeters. And then another 0.6 millimeters in red. And you can see that platform right there. And then 0.6 millimeters in white. And then 0.4 millimeters in black. And that should get me the end result I think I want. So so we'll get going on that. So for those who may be unfamiliar with Openscad, here's openscad.org. It's a free program. You can download it, and it's free to use, free to implement. And the idea is you can 3D design by code. And so it's a really good, useful program. The nice thing is you can iterate in the code. There's some things I love using Fusion 360, but there are some things that are more adept at doing Openscad, and it's easier to iterate certain things. Some things are far easier in Fusion 360. But there's a lot of good uses for this. I like using both for different kinds of reasons. So with that, I have the openscad.org cheat sheet to use right here, which I'll probably be referring to from time to time. Now, to let everyone know, there we go, Streamline. Let everyone know, I did get one working. I haven't printed it out yet, but I do have, let me find this one. Boom. I did get this one kind of working this morning, so I, don't want to do a live show and have it actually not work. But I got one there, so we can I can reference it if I need to. But let's start with a new design, and I'll hide this. And so we'll just kind of go over some Fusion 360 isms. First off, I like to set this FEN number. The FN number, it's kind of how fine you can do it. So I can show that real easily now. So we'll draw a circle, and we'll give it a diameter of 10 millimeters. And I'll just run that like that. And you can see it's very blocky. So I can do 10. See how it just only has 10 segments? Versus doing 100 makes it much more fine. So sometimes it's nice to lower this at first, so when you're doing your test, but then when you're finally done, to raise it. So I'll just set it to 40 right now. Also, when you're doing this, there's a preview button. You push that preview, that will render faster versus trying to do the render. The render goes a lot slower. But you need to render it in order to make an STL file. So with that, let's get going on the programming. So what we want to do is figure this out. So I'm also trying to aim towards the idea. I have a Prusa Mini coming someday. No date on when it's coming out. So hopefully that'll be here before Christmas, I hope. But also with that, I'm trying to design things in such a manner that they'll fit on the Prusa Mini. And the Prusa Mini is 170 by 170 millimeters, and I try to cut that down. Now, truth be told, STL files are unitless. Openscad is unitless. So here I said, give it a diameter of 10. It doesn't know what 10 means. It just knows that relative to what the size is. So you might want to, but also when you say this an STL file, it ends up becoming millimeters. So 10 ends up being 10 millimeters. It just kind of happens to work that way. So it's kind of convenient. So I'll go, I kind of want to set variables in here and I kind of don't. So it depends on how well you want to resize it. I kind of got stuck on mine. Maybe we'll make variables here so that we can hopefully resize the whole thing by sheer willpower. So we'll say diameter equals 170. And since we're coding, the semicolon is how you end the code. So this says, hey, I'm going to set a variable. I'm going to call it diameter, and it's going to have the value 170. Because the first we want to do is we want to draw our big circle. So we'll draw this big circle at the bottom. And so I'll come down here, and rather than the 10, I'll say, in fact, I think the default, let's go look it up. If you're drawing a circle, the default is radius. So if I just put a number in there, it's going to be the radius. So I either have to divide it by 2, or I can say D. I can say D equals whatever, and then it'll work. So I can say D equals DIA. So that says the number is diameter. And if I run that, you'll see it gets much bigger than what it was. But now I've got my 170. Or, you know, just to show you, I could have done circle, D, like I said, diameter divided by 2. Same thing. Boom, goes away. But I'll stick with the D equals, I'll stick with that one for now. So we've got that, but now this is only two-dimensional, so we'd have to extrude it. And so what we're going to do is we can do a linear extrude. So you go to this page and you can see the transformations. Oh, you go. Why are you? I want to push that button. So there's your transformations. You can do a linear. There you go. Linear extrude. Boom. And what that will do, you can click on there and open that and get more details. What that's going to, in a simple case, I'm going to pull it up. So I can come down here and say a linear extrude. Extrude. Is that right with it? Linear extrude. And come in here and say 10. It's not going to be 10 in the end. And then open bracket, close bracket. Now I don't have to, but for my own sake, as a programmer, I got to put a couple of spaces in there so I can know. So anything within these brackets is going to be extruded 10 millimeters. Boom. So now we've got that. Now in truth, we don't want 10 millimeters. We only want, based on our design, we want, where's my notes? We want 2 down here. But then we also have this upper section. So we'll do this lower section first. So we'll do 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. Extrude that. Oh. There's another thing. If you're unfamiliar with coding, see, I have a problem here. So if I ran it, it found a problem. It highlights it with this red button. and I can see more than likely the problem is on that line of code. Sometimes it might tell you the wrong line. There might be an error further up or further down. There we go. So we're down there, 2 millimeters, boom. Now I need to do another circle. And this circle is going to be inside. Now I cheated. I took some, well, I shouldn't say cheated. I took some measurements, and it was an easy way to do it was in Fusion 360. So in Fusion 360, you can apply a picture to a plane, and then you can sit there, and I sit there and drew over it. So I got a lot of my measurements on what I needed to do. So you can see here I have this little cavernous piece is, where we are. So we are, here we are, 160. And this guy right here is, the next one in is 148. Let me go back on here. Oh, I said 170. Even though you could do 170, it's probably a good idea to bring it in just a little bit. So there we are, 160. So we have 160 and 148. Now I want to make that shell around there. So what I can do is I'll comment this out so I don't see it anymore just for a moment. I want to make the next one. So the next one's going to be the shell around it. I want to work on this little black ring around the whole thing. So what I can do is I can come down here and say circle, which is going to be d equals diameter. It's going to be that same thing. But then we want to subtract from it. So we can come down here, we can do not a union, but a diff. Oh, there's Boolean operations. Union means adding, difference means subtracting. And if you do that, here's this difference. I can say difference, boom, boom, boom. Everything, the first one will be the one that you're subtracting from. Everything after it is an object you'll subtract from it. So I could say, as an example, I could say circle, because we're going to make a ring, and I'll say 10. Well, I'll say 100 so we can see it. If I do that, I should get a ring. Did I spell it wrong? Happy. No, I think you're good on that. Oh, I went to, yeah, I erased the whole thing. So since the other one's diameter, if I don't put a D in there, it's the radius, so that was 160. I made it too big, so that's a diameter of 200, so of course it was bigger. Okay, so now you can see I got a ring. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So now I could come in here, I didn't do that measurement, so it'd be 148, so I can say D equals 148. Now, well, let's get that done, then we'll come back and fix it. So I can say that, and then I want to extrude it. So I want to do a couple of things. I can do a linear extrude. Now, in this case, according to my drawing, I only want to, my cheat sheet, I only want to extrude it 1 millimeter. 1 more millimeter high. Let me stick this on the side so I can get it to it more easier in my brain. Now if I do this, and again, you don't have to put these spaces in there, but I do. So now it's extruded 1 millimeter. But now if I bring back the other one, this one will effectively disappear because it's being engulfed by the other one. So what I want to do is I could do a linear extrude of 3, right? If I did 3, I get that outer ring. But there's a couple, well, now it's a debate. Yeah, I don't know which one is the best way to do it. Okay, maybe I'll just do it this way because there's some of these STL isms. But let me do it that way. We'll leave it at 1. And so now it'll disappear. But now I need to do a translate. On the cheat sheet, you can see here, you can translate something. And that just means move an object X, Y, or Z. So I'll come down here and I'll say translate, and see with X, Y, Z, just to show you what's going on there. I mean, those aren't real values yet. Now in this case, we don't want to move it in the X or the Y, so we'll put a 0 and a 0, but we do want to move it in the Z, so we'll put a 2. And then we'll run that, and now you see, even though I did that 1, it's actually popping up there. And so if I do a perfect cross section, which I think I can do by clicking there. If I do a perfect one, right there. And if I remove this one, you'll see the other one's floating above. So we successfully should have gotten that. Yep, perfect. Okay, then what I really want to do, not quite done. Okay, I got that. Then I want to add the inner circle right there. And then I'll end up with getting that channel. Now, according to my notes, let's see, Fusion, the inner channel is, where are you? 140. So we'll go change that one to 140. Now that one's a little simpler because there's not much to it. But since I use this translate and it's linear extrude, it's going to be the same extrude. So I'll just put it right here, and I'll call it circle 140. Diameter 140. And then boom, we should be getting our channel. So look at that. Boom, we got it just fine. And it translated just fine. And we should, in theory, be good. Yay. Now, next thing. Now that we've got that, we probably want to do unions and differences. Now, I'm just covering my bases. I want to make sure these are all one piece, so I'll do a union wrapped around here. So now, as far as it concerns itself, those are one piece, and then I want to put these together too, and add those together, union. I don't know if that's really, there's a thing in the back of my mind saying that that helps, but I'm not certain. I don't think you need to do it, but I'm going to anyway. So we won't see any effective difference, but now they're one piece. And there are some reasons why you might want to do that. I think it's going to help me in this case. Now, that is this bottom piece. Now, if I go back and look at my old notes, I started making a module. There we go, base. So we'll do that. So we'll make this a module. We'll encase this whole thing in a module. So we'll call this a module. We'll call it the base, because this should give us the entire base, yeah. We'll call it base, and then we'll wrap the whole thing around. So now this is a module. And you don't have to do this, just me cleaning things up the way I like it. So now here's this module base. Now if I run this, nothing's going to occur, because this hasn't been called. So if I run this, we'll see everything disappears. So I have to come down here, and call the base module, and then it will do it. Boom. And you say, why in the heck would I bother doing that? Well, there could be a lot of reasons. So I can actually call it multiple times and reuse the code. And also, there's two reasons. Well, there's a lot more than two reasons. Here I can reuse the code. So here I ran this twice. Technically it's overlaying each other, but I could, let's say I wanted more of them. I could say translate, and I could say boom boom, and I'll make that 100 over 0, 0, boom, 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 and run that real quick, and oh, there, and there I got my second one. I'm gonna make it 180, and so I didn't have to do any more code, and now I've got two of them, so I could use that for a lot of different reasons like that. Also, you can pass in a variable. In fact, let's make a point of that. So we have our diameter here. And let's fix this into more of a variable. So we'll come down here and we'll pass in our diameter. diameter. Boom. So we'll pass this number in. So now this is passing it in, and then we can come down here and say, we'll just call it size, even though it's really it is the diameter. It's hard to say diameter and then say diameter again. Well, let's do it this way. We'll do that for that sake, but then we'll come down here and make a different one that's only 100. So we'll pass that in. Now, this is technically now a different variable. So now if I run this, it comes in here, and that should change. Yep. Boom. But now that I've changed that variable, now I pass that variable in, I change the outer ring size, but the inner ring size doesn't care. So let me make that bigger. The inner ring size, we didn't make those variables that are adjusted based on the size. So what I need to do is I need to change these other things so that they're all relative. So this one's okay. That's pulling from that diameter. But now and that one's okay. But then this one, 148, not quite so okay. So what we got to do is we can say 148 divided by the diameter. Is that going to be right? Yes. No, because we have 148 divided by 160. There we go, 160. There we go, diameter multiplied by 148 times 60. And then for this guy, same thing. We have 140 divided by 160. Diameter multiplied by that. Now that should give us a relative size. Boom, look, there we go, cool. I didn't do this in my last bit of code. So now I come down here and now I can change the size and make that one, 80. And they're gonna look the same. They're gonna be proportionally exactly the same. So looks like I have at least one person viewing. Anybody out there, you can say hello in the chat. Let me see if people are hearing me. Sometimes you wonder if your audio is on sometimes. I've done that before. I've had recorded entire things and didn't have my microphone on. That's when you record good things. Okay, so there is our base. Our base is done. But now we want to, what did I do before? Use my cheat sheet. So now we're going to make more stuff, so we'll make another module down here. So we have this base module, but now we'll make the module platform 9 and 3/4, right, 3/4. And so we'll make this our central one that will call other modules. So I'll take this base diameter. And here, I mean, you could pass it into here. That's the size. The size gets passed down if you want to do it that way. Okay, so that's being passed down. But now if I run it, just like I had that last one, if I run this, nothing's going to get rendered because I need to pass this in. Boom. And what did I mess up? Oh, semicolon. There we go. There we go. Now we're back with the 1. Oh, another reason, sometimes I say there's multiple reasons I don't explain myself. Another reason to make these modules is so that module only does one thing. Maybe you could code it all in one piece, but sometimes it's nice just to say, hey, this only makes the base. So if I want to change the base, I need to go on this piece of code. I know exactly where it is versus I got like 500 lines of code and I'm not sure where to go. Okay, so we got the base. Now let's go to the next part. Let's see what logically I did last time. Platform text. The top one. Yeah, let's do that. Platform text. So we'll make another module. Now it can be anywhere. I'm just going to put it down here. Platform text. Boom, boom, boom. And yeah, this one you would pass in the relative size too. We're going to need the relative size so we can adjust the font based on that size, right? So platform, that gets passed in. Now if I run this, nothing happens. Now sometimes it's good to run things every so often just to make sure you're not breaking your code. Baby steps, right? Okay. Module. Diameter. Okay, now this is where it gets a little fun. I'm going to have to go look at my cheat sheet here. I'll hold this over the side so I can see it. So we're gonna put our text in here. Text equals platform. And we can see from this thing, they're all capital letters. And now we want to uniformly put them all the way around like that. That's where it gets a little fun. And this would be really interesting to do in a class to teach some kids some geometry. Because we have this, and coding. So we have this platform. Now we want to set a font. So I'll say my font equals something. Now what you can do is once you figure out what font you want, I would recommend, doing something like this one, My View, or somewhere else, trying to figure out what font is going to look best. There's a lot of free fonts out there, so once you figure out what font's going to look best, then you go over here in Openscad, click on Help, go to Font List, and this will show you all the fonts installed on your system. Now sometimes it takes a little bit of time to refresh this, so if you just open it for the first time it might take a second or two. Also, if you just added a font, you may have to restart this or restart Openscad. But once you're in here, now you can search for the one you want. In this case, I have it over here, it's Callisto Bold. And so I'll click on that one and say copy to clipboard, hit OK, come down here, paste, semicolon. Now that's my font that I want to use. And then I'll come down here and say font size, and I'll say equals 15, just for the moment. We're going to need to make that relative later on. And then I'll say, now I want to actually draw a font, and I have to copy this whole thing over. And fonts are fun. A lot of different things you can do with them. So here is the text that I'm going to write, and here I will write the text that's from here. This variable is coming in, and it's going to be the size, the font size, and then we told it to center it this way, vertically and horizontally, and the font we're going to use is the My font that we just set. So now if I come up here, let me comment this out. 2 slashes will comment something out. So now that's not going to run, but the other one should. And hopefully I can see something. Cool. I see platform. So we have progress. Boom, boom, boom. Now though, let's do a couple of things. Let's see. So we want to, before we get to the point where we're going to put them in the right place, let's get them extruded and high enough. So these are going to be the white lettering, and so the white section, oh yeah, we got the red. Ooh. Oh, I messed up on the red, didn't I? The red needs to be higher. So, I need to go back a step, because this center disk, where the red will be, needs to go slightly higher. It needs to go up 0.6 more. So I need to go back a second to my base, and there's the circle, that's the ring, and this one's the inner circle, and I need to, I could do it in here, but I need to extrude it somewhere else. So I will break that union out, put that union here, keep that there, and then I will do a separate linear extrude, because this one needs to be 1.6 for just that little guy. Boom, boom, and grab that circle, because he just needs to crop out just a little bit more for the red. Now, if you have a multicolored printer, which I don't, I have to change colors layer by layer. That's why I need to separate those out. Now if I run this, I can see this. If I go to my profile, I should see just ever so slightly right there. Boom, a little bit higher. Perfect. Now if anyone has any comments or suggestions who's watching live, you can speak up or post a message. Or I can just keep on going. Okay, so we got that going back on my brain. So let me comment that out, hit that. And now what I want to do is get this to the right height and extrude it. So this is going to be the white lettering, And in this case, the white lettering starts at 3.6 and goes up 0.6. So we'll do a linear extrude of 0.6. Or, yeah, we'll do that. 0.6. And then we'll place it. So if I run that, boom, now I should see that I have a little bit of depth there. And then we want to be 3.6 high, so we'll do a translate. Translate, boom, 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 boom. And I'll say 0, 0, 3.6. And you didn't like that. Oh, I spelled translate. There we go. So now hopefully we are a little off. There we go. So now if I bring back the base, hopefully we can still see the lettering. Perfect. We can see the lettering. Also, if you're doing previews, you can highlight different things. So if you, there's a couple of different things. I think we talked about this last time. I think Oswald told me. I forget who mentioned it. But you can modify characters. So there is a highlight to help you debug. There's also things where you can only show that one, or you can disable things. So I could go, well, let's do that. So like right now I preview, but it only works on preview, it doesn't work on render. This is only for debugging purposes. So right now if I comment out base, that works. I could also come over here and say disable, so they got a star. So I can say, Shift 8, and it's disabled. But if I hit render, it should ignore that, or is that just, oh, it ignored it. It did not ignore it. Yeah, I didn't try that one. Let me try that percentage then. Maybe it's the percentage I need to do. Maybe that does truly remove it. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's transparent. But now if I hit render, I think it ignores that. I think. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I hadn't fiddled with that. But I know the pound sign does highlight, which came in really helpful when I try to do these words. So now I put this pound symbol. Now everything in that module is going to be highlighted. And so now it made it a lot easier to figure out these words because it's kind of hard to see yellow on yellow, I mean, I think you can color things at this point, but this is enough for me. So now we get that platform. Now the next aspect is how are we going to get it all the way around? Because first of all, we have to place these letters individually around, and then we got to twist them. Well, we can do that really precisely. So, and I need to think through this a little bit more. Relatively, we got to change some of the relative isms here before we go on. So, right now I see no need in relatively changing the depths because that involves, changing color. So I'm not going to relatively resize that, but I can relatively resize the font size. So here we have 15 based on our diameter. So if we want to do that, we would say 15 divided by 160 and 160 multiplied by that. So if we did that, we're good. If we come down here and say, you know what, we don't want 160, we want 100, hope it'll resize it and look similar. Yeah, looks similar to me. Oh, did I just... Oh, you didn't like that. Why not? I hadn't tried this before. So why are you not... Oh, I hard-coded it. This should be the diameter. There we go. Ah, perfect. So now I can make this 400. Boom. Or I can make it 100, and it should relatively resize everything just fine. Cool, there we go. Nice. 160. There we go. So now we want to, I'm not going to turn the letters, but I want to put them in the right spot. So I did a little bit of cheating in Fusion 360. And so I kind of looked at the angles here. And so the angle here, I think was about 13, there you go, 13 degrees. So 13 degrees either side, I want to cut that out. So 180 degrees minus 13, and then you divvy up the number of letters in there, and that should give you what kind of angle you want to do. And in here you can do sine and cosine and all that fun stuff. So first of all, we can try to get them placed at the right height. And if we know our angle, so we'd have our angle 13 plus whatever this divisor angle would be. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there should be like, if we did 1, 2, 3. Yes, there it is. So let's see what I did last time. I think I had to add 1 to it. Yep. So we have angle between. Subtract 1. So we can come down here and we can figure out how many letters we have. So we can say num_l, number of letters, equals the length of the text. And to check that out, I can say echo num_l, just for debugging purposes. Run the preview, and over here it's really small. Let me see, maybe my image is covering it up. Over here, echo 8. So we can see there's 8 letters in there. So it's a nice way to prove that we're doing it is correct. So now we want to calculate the angle between each letter. Angle between equals, 180 minus 2 times, oh, I said start degree. Well, we can just hard code this. We can say 180 minus 30 minus, let's do it this way. We'll make it a variable. Start degree divided by the number of letters, We also want to do minus 1, because if we have one letter, it would be in the center, and that would be 180. You have to do minus 1 because you want a 90 degree. You have to actually add one more phantom letter in there to get that correct, if I'm thinking correctly. And so we'll have, we'll come here and say start degree, and we'll fill with this. Look at my notes over here, I eventually settled on 15. And that degree shouldn't change based on our size. So we have that, we have this angle. And so now we want to, we need to calculate, well, we need to do a couple of things. We want to, rather than do the entire text, we can do a single character of the text. So I can do brackets here and put a number, like a 0. So if I do this, we'll see this will only draw, oh, there we go. If we do that, where did I miss? Angle between, oh, how about an equal sign? There we go. If I do this 0, we only get the first letter. So we want to iterate over every single letter. So I'll come down here and I'll say, oh, it's got a for loop. So I'll come down here and I'll say for I equals 0. So we start with a 0 number. num_l minus 1. And what that is saying, that says, hey, in this loop, I'm going to make a loop. So in the first loop, I'm going to make a variable called I. First loop, I'm going to make a variable called I, and it's going to be set to 0. And then I'll do whatever's in this loop. And then I'll increment it by 1. I'll add 1 to it, and then I'll do the loop again. And I'll keep doing that until I get to the number that the highest number is num_l minus 1. So I'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll get all the way to 7, and then once it's 8, it'll bow out. That way I can do that, and then each time I can put a different letter in. Now if I do this as is, it's going to write every single letter in the same exact spot. So if I run that, it becomes a blur because every single letter is put on onto every single one. So what I want to do is I want to use that variable to do some interesting things. So I can say, okay, I want this, I have the angle between, I have the starting degrees, and so what I want to do is I want to make a new angle for every single one. Now the first one, I shouldn't have to angle over, the starting degree will be fine. So what I'll say is I'll come down here and I'll say new angle equals, and what it's going to equal is going to equal the angle between each one multiplied by I. So if it happens to be 10 degrees, the first one won't move, it'll be 0. 0 times 10 is 0. And then 10, 20, 30, 40, every single time it will increase. But I also need to add in the start degree. Boom, so I add in this angle. And so now I can go, to prove that I'm not crazy, I can do new angle, I can do echo. Then I can go look over here in the results. And I can see over here that it's going through 15, 38, 62, 85, 109. So I can see it's doing what I think it should be doing. Cool. Now with that angle, that's the angle that I want to go. So now I can do a little bit of math. And for those who remember some of your algebra, some of your geometry, some of your trigonometry, you can use sines and cosines. So if I want the height, the y, we'll start with the y. We'll say x equals, we're going to figure that out in a minute. So we'll say x equals something, we're going to figure that out. But I'll say y equals the distance, y equals the diameter, right, because we're going to base off of that. What did I do? Oh, it looks like my distance, let me do a calculation up here. What I did here was a distance calculation to help me do it. Before, it looks like I wrote 120 divided by 2, so that's 60. But that's relative to the size of the diameter, right? So I'll say 60, I'll say diameter times 60 divided by 160. And that should give me what I need. Oops, multiply, boom. So there's that distance. So I'll say the distance, normally, because my radius, would be distance multiplied by the cosine of the new angle. Because imagine you have a little right-handed triangle here that goes out, goes up to this radius, and then comes down. So we know what that angle is. We know what the radius is, so we can calculate what this line will be here. So we'll hit that, and then we'll use that to translate it. So I'll come down here and I'll say translate. I can't type today. Boom. And so here we have x, y, and z, right? Z we're not going to move, x we're not going to move yet, and the y we set it to y so we can actually use that. So now if I run this, hopefully they're all going to be at different distances. Or I just, what do? I mess something up. Oh, because I can't spell translate today. There we go. And so now we can see it's kind of working. But, oh, I did do a negative, didn't I? Move my notes over here. Negative. Okay. Now I'm questioning my own thought process here. How did I do this? So I have, but let me get the x right now. X equals, similar thing, x equals distance times sine of new angle. Boom. And I can replace that y with a, in this case, negative x, according to my notes over here. Boom. Ah. Oh, I'm looking at this wrong. uh, I need to. Oh, I didn't get the right degree. So, or how did I do it last time? Well, let me look up my cheat sheet here. So I got the font size is relative. Oh, this keeps crossing. I'm looking at the wrong. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong section. Boom, boom, boom. Ah, that would be why. I'm looking at the wrong section. Ah, 2 times. 2 times the start degree. That would do part of it. Now I'm getting myself stuck. Translate, negative x, y. Boom. Now I've got myself stuck. Okay, what did I do wrong? Translate, negative x, y, x is distance times sine, new angle, yes, new angle, times I plus the start degree, that's all correct. But now, I'm rotating. I messed something up here. Let's see, 100 minus 2, no, that's right. Distance. Now we're just going to rotate them in place. Okay, what is different? Okay, I'm going to comment this out for a second and copy my other code over here and stare at it and go, what did I do different? Because I did not. I could fix this as is, but I'm like, what did I do? If I run that, yeah, it's up there. So what is different? Start degree is 22. That shouldn't matter. Distance is 60. Yeah, start degree is 22. Let me delete all this and look at it again. Okay, just make sure I have the right angle. But you're over there. Okay, what did I do wrong? The joy of debugging. So we have that font size. Oh, wrong one. Font size is 15. Yeah. The length is the text. The start degree is 22. The distance is ah, oh, that's 60. That's 60. Hang between no, it's the same thing. Okay. Translate. Ah, get myself dug in. It's fun. I'm looking between 2 screens and I'm getting myself stuck. Num L minus 1. Give a new angle. Distance cosine, yeah. this over and see what's going on here. I don't think I'll see how that should fix anything. And it doesn't. Ah. The joy of doing a live show, you mess things up. I could copy and paste, but I don't want to. I want to figure out what I did wrong. Translate and extrude. Yeah. Angle. Same thing. Wide distance, sine, new angle. No. Texted. Okay. What did I do? Text platform, my font. Okay, if I copy. I'll copy it section by section and see what's different. No, that's nothing different about that. Okay, so I'm going to comment that out. Comment that out. Copy all that. We get it all up there. Alright. So we have 4. Yeah, they let it extrude. I guess I'm doing it that way. 4i. That's the same thing. New angle equals angle between. Let's start degree. I'm going to copy this over here and see what goes on. That's the same. Oh, do it twice. Oh, don't tell me that's what it was. I think that would be different. No. New angle. Yeah, because that's just redundant. Ah, fun, fun, fun. Let's do both. And then I will just comment out the text. I won't draw anything up here. But then we can do an echo. That echoes the new angle. I can echo the new angle and see what's it doing. So here we go, 22, 22, 41, 41, 60. Might be hard to see over there. So 22, 41, 60, 99, 119. Yeah, that looks like it's all the same. The new angle is the same. Let me say Man, what am I not seeing? X. Not my font. I shouldn't change that out. No, because that runs. Echo X. Echo Y. We got that. So we have 22, 55, 22. And I have 22, 22, 55. Did I reverse them? I did reverse them. There we go. Ugh. Reverse them. Okay, that'd be why I did that. That's frustrating. But also a nice thing to, nice thing to teach students, right? As they have to fiddle with this and try to get it just right. Okay, back to what we have. Okay, I just reversed the X and the Y. Blah, blah, blah. I should probably put the X in front of the Y. Just, that's how we think, X and Y. Okay, that took a while to figure out. Okay, so now we got that. So now they're in the right location, but they need to be rotated. And so there's a rotate. So I can say, okay, I got this translate, and inside of here, I can put it here or outside. I can put a rotate and rotate some degree. I'll just say 30 degrees for just to show you that it can rotate. Get over here, boom, and that. Also, another thing, if you notice, if I click on one of these brackets or near a bracket, it'll show where its partner bracket is, so you can see what's in between those things. So I hit that, you'll see they all turn 30 degrees, but they all need to turn based on their new angle. And it turns out that is 90 minus the new angle should get us the right thing. Boom. So that's a really cool thing is so now based on that, I could add more or less. So I could say plat 4 and it will space it out correctly. Platform, it'll space it out correctly. You know, now it starts to get a little crowded there, but it spaces out correctly. Or if I said is here, you know, it's gonna get cramped, but I could actually lie and tell it to, well, I could adjust it. I could say, hey, you start at negative 22 and you go all the way to 200, you know, 180 plus 22. And I think that should wrap it around. Yeah. So that's a really cool way to wrap things around. Let me undo what I just did. That's really cool for students to probably see. How's it going? Hey. Yeah, I thought it was a cool thing to show this fanciness because at first I was going to do this in in Fusion 360, but then I started thinking, oh, you can twist the numbers, and that's probably a cool thing to do. Nice thing to show students. Okay, so we have platform. Boom. Speaking of, I may have missed something on my base. Let me see, because I should have two other little dots. Let's see. Yep. Let me go back to Fusion 360, and I got these little I forgot to add these for the base. They're these little circles. So I'm going to add those in. Those happen to be 9 in diameter. Let me see if I can find where did I put them. Circle, the circle, 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 circle. There it is, a little white dot. So I go back to my base code, and we want to get those white dots the same level where everything that's white is. So the white goes to 4.2, and here's the base. And that is the 1.6. That's up to the red. Now these are white dots. They're going to be a little taller. So I can come down here and let's see, translate 002. Oh, yeah. So I got the big, that's translate 2, and I did that on top of that thing. Now I can just make this another section. So I want these little dots. So I can put a comment in here. Little white dots. Boom. And I can say, translate, well, I don't want to translate now, so I'll just say, it'll be circle, and they are, diameter equals 9. And I want 2 of them. So I can come down here and I can do a linear extrude. And they're just going to be, I'll put them on top. So they're going to just be 0.6 tall right there. 0.6. And I'll extrude that one. I'll just start with the 1. I'll do 2 in a second. But then I also need to translate it because you're not going to see it because it's starting at the bottom. Translate. Boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. And we have X, Y, Z. Those aren't really variables yet. I just do that to keep my brain clear. So we're not going to move in the X, not going to move in the Y. And the Z, we need to move it all the way up to the end of the red. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 0.6 is 3.6. This will start at 3.6. 3.6. And if I do that, I should, oh, forgot a semicolon. Semicolon. Now I see a little tiny dot right there. But I want to move to either side. And I need to translate that. But that translate, I got notes over here. But I want to, it's going to be relative. We want to have that translated relative. And in fact, I can just translate it right here. Why did I do 2 translates? Oh, in my other thing, I did a linear extrude and then a translate. So in here, I put the 1 over to the side, it's 61. 61 and negative 61 is what I have. But I want to make that relative, so I can change the size later on. So I want to say the diameter times 61 divided by 160, and that should get me thrown over to the side. Boom, right there. You can see, kind of hard to pick that up, but there it is right there. And that's relative to the size here, this diameter. And then I will go make another one. And I'll just copy this whole thing. There's different ways of doing this. I'll make another one. He'll just be negative 61. And hopefully he will pop on the other side. Boom, there we go, we got both. And now, because we've done everything relative, and this is our driving factor, this diameter, I can come back here and change it to 120. And that should change everything, including the font size. And boom, you can see we got it going right there. So I'll put it back to 160. And again, I made it 160 because now I'm trying to plan for the Prusa Mini, which is not here yet. And the Prusa Mini is 170 by 170, and so I'm going a little bit smaller than that to make sure it will fit. Okay, so I got the platform down, and it's extruded. You see that. So that part's done, he says in theory. Now we're at the bottom, King's Cross Station. So we'll come and make another section just like this one, and we'll call it, we'll put a pound symbol in front of this so we can see it too. King's Cross text. which, as we all know, is where platform 9 3/4 is. It's where it was filmed. I was actually there once. It's kind of cool. But when I was there, I was trying to find. I was there years and years ago, but apparently they have a famous Harry Potter, cart stuck in a wall, and I was trying to find it, but they're doing some construction there at the time, and I couldn't quite find it. I got a little lost. But that was a cool idea. Okay, so make a module. Call it that. Change class. And again, we'll pass in the diameter, which is what we're using for our relative size. Cool. So that we can change the font based on what we need. Now I will copy what we did here in the platform text. And in fact, I'm not going to do it in this video, but this platform text is on the top. You could, if you wanted to do it evenly, you could pass in some more variables, and you could flip it and do it on the bottom. So you could make this and then pass in the variable of the text. That's a cool class. So that's a cool example. So I'll do it in two just for convenience sake. But this could be consolidated into one module where you pass in the text and you could pass in the angle, and then there's some cool things you could do. But for now, I'll make it two, just because of what I've written down. Okay, so I'll say King's Cross Station, and same text, but here I got a smaller font size, which happens in my case to be 8. So I'll do this relative. So the diameter that we're spinning in, 8 divided by 160. So that'll get us 8 right now, but it will still give us our relative size. Distance is the same. Starting degree, looks like I did a little bit different, 15. But now we're going down, and all the rest is the same. 180 divided by 2, starting degree. You can see how a lot of this is the same, so you could turn it into one thing. Yeah, 3.6, 0.6, all this is the same. We're going in between here. In fact, if I leave it like that and don't do anything, and let me comment out the platform text, we'll see this should pop on the top. But we don't want on the top, we want on the bottom. So we're just going to do different angles. So we should just do, I think all we're going to do is negative y. Is that right? I think that'll get me what I want. Oh, yeah, there we go. But now, of course, I need to negative the angle too, rather than, I got to reverse this. Minus 90. Boom. And there we go. King's Cross Station. Cool. So now we're most of the way there. All we have left to do is the 9 3/4 part, and then slice it. So let's go up and make another thing called, let's see, what do I call it over here? Yep, 9 3/4 text. I'll say 9 3/4 text. Boom, boom. Passing the diameter, so you can do that relative size. Copy that. I'll make another module down here. Module. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so now we can do a couple of things. We're not going to copy that same text over because it's going to be, this is more about just positioning it. And so I positioned it before, we'll see. So here, different ways you can do it, but I kind of like I kind of got used to using this I thing, so I'll just put the text 934. I'll put the entire text there. Now, in my case, the font I'm using that I found to work the best, which happened to be installed on my system. In fact, I'll go over here and find it. Font list, and I'll search for elephant. Elephant regular. That's the one I'm using. Happened to be installed. I didn't go looking for it, so I'm thinking it might just be installed Windows. I've installed a couple weird fonts over the edges, but I don't think this is one of them. Okay, so we got that. And so now this is going to be extruded a little bit higher because this is the last black section. Oh, did I not make that ring? Another base. Another thing I forgot. There's also, in my mind, there's a ring right here. This black ring. Uh, it could be the same size, but because I have to do it layer by layer, I need to make this ring here at the very top. So it'll be a 0.4 millimeter above that. So I need to go make that ring too. Oh yeah, little things I forget. So let's go back to the base. We're going to union all these things. And I'm going to make another circle. Oh, did I do? Ooh, messed that up. I didn't make this relative. That'll bite you in the butt. Okay, so you have these little circles here, right there and right there. They're relatively positioned, but if I go here and change the size, we'll see those circles get huge by comparison to what they should be. I don't think I syntax error. Really messed up. Oh, yeah, see those circles got big right there. See, they're positioned correctly, but they're huge because I did not do a relative size. So let's go fix that. So I should say DIA times 9 divided by 160. DIA times 9 divided by 160. DIA times, there we go. Boom. Now if I run that, cool. I correctly sized. I should probably bring this over here so I can actually read my text that you guys are typing. Before you oriented King's Station correctly. I did? It looks like the letters fell. Yeah, you know, oh, you know what, there's I haven't checked, there's a color white. Ooh, that's a good color. Ooh, that could be cool. So how do I do color? I know there's a color thing on here, but the last time I tried to use it, it didn't like me. So color, I guess you just circle around. Oh, X value. That's what I'm used to. Color. And then you gotta encapsulate it. Oh, I'll give that a shot. I like this highlight thing, but if I can color it, that's kind of useful for viewing. Let me see if I can do it. So color, and let's see, I'm used to hex, so if I do hash, okay, so let's try that. So if I do FFF, which would be black, oh wow. Well, if you do FFF, that would be black. And if my thinking's correct. So what would that do? Remove that. Oh, that's kind of cool. But now, when I render it, that all goes away. Is my understanding. But oh, that's kind of nice. I like that. That's very useful. So if I go, yeah, so maybe I can color a few things. Maybe we can make this look better. So we got platform, we got King's Cross, and since those are both white, that should just show up just fine. Nice. And then beyond that, I got these little white dots, which I'll have to go. I don't want to make the whole base white, so the base can have different spots. So I can say little white dots. I can make you guys white. Thanks, Ashley. This looks kind of cool. I like this idea because then you can make it look like you intend it to. And then I want the first several layers black and then red. And this is my base union. So this is my most of this is going to be black. Depends if I want to pull that out. Or who overrides who? Ooh, let's try to do. And we'll say 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Those who might not be familiar with, it looks like, I'm doing this because I'm an old HTML coder too. When you're doing color, it looks like probably they have colors in here, so I could write color cyan, right? It looks like I can do a color name. I'm used to the hex value in a sense because hex value you have two numbers which are hexadecimal. The first two colors are red, then green, then blue, and they mix them together. Oh, they have an alpha too, so you can make them transparent. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh. But anyway, red, green, and blue and how you mix them. And so this should be black, the absence of all color. And if I do that, hopefully should make all this black. And then let's see what I have to over, let's see how smart it is. Now again, you don't have to put these spaces in here. I just like putting spaces in there. Oh, look at that. But then we want to do our red, so either I need to pull the red part out, but hopefully, maybe I can this part is the red part. All right, let's see. That part is that part, this part's the red part. So hopefully I can override it in the middle of it, otherwise I need to pull that out, which I can do. Let's see, red, green, blue, so if I do FF, that should be red. Of course it's gonna, I can, you know, it's not a sophisticated program. Yeah, I didn't know the alpha, that should be the transparency, which should be cool. I would think. Okay, so I need to, if I want to get this red, I need to pull this one out. So I can do a union, I can do a translate, extrude, doesn't have to be like that. So that's extruded 2, and let's just add it. So I come out here and say, okay, you're right there, I'm going to pull this red out, and I'll say translate 2, and just pull that out. I want to get that red. Okay, let's get that. Oh, that's still part of that. So I need to, there we go. But I pulled the wrong one out. Okay, that's the bigger one. No, that's right, right? Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool. This is kind of nice because it's bringing out where I have errors. Sometimes it's nice to highlight things so you can see where you screwed up. Okay, so I don't have the circle. I got the white dots. This is the circle. That's the inner circle because it's not coming out correctly. So this is my big guy. What are you gonna do? That's my big guy. That's my channel. This is my red, and I forgot to add my white. I forgot to add my white. There you go, white center. I just forgot to add my white. So there's this white. I'm just copying and pasting this. So this is a. It should be. I was doing a linear extrude before, but that should be. This white is 0.6. I'll do a 0.6. 0.6. And its diameter minus 61. I will do a translate. I want to move it. Just get it positioned correctly first. And again, X, Y, Z. I know I don't have X, Y, Z variable, just helping me think. And so we want not to move there, not to move there, but in the Z we want to move 3.6. 3.6. And that should make something. Oh, how do I do that? There we go. But I want it to be white because that's cooler. Oh, this is way better than what I had before. I mean, the highlights were nice. This is way better. Actually make it look like something. Look at that. Cool. Oh, that looks way better. It's hard to see the little channel that is in here. There's a little, should be a channel in here, but it is there, but just because of the black part. Cool. Nice. That looks way better. Okay, where was I? So we got the white part. We got this white background. So now we need this black ring to go around here, and that black ring is part of the background. So we'll come down here and we'll say black ring, and we'll say color is going to be 0000000, which should be black. I'm thinking correctly. And this black ring is going to be the same size. Oh wait, did I make everything relative? Dang it, I didn't. Damn, am I 61? So that is so 160 minus 51 is 99. So I'll say diameter times 99 divided by 160. Okay, now we should be relative. Cool. And that way if I resize it, it all looks fine. Boom. There we go. Black ring. Okay, now black ring should be the same size. We're going to have to translate it. We're going to, translate. We're going to translate, so we're going to move it because this is the black ring. That's going to be the last thing. And so it should be, according to my height schedule, 2 plus 1 is 3, 0.6, 3.6, 4.2. And it'll be 0.4 high. So 4.2, and then we will do a linear extrude of 0.4. Now I'm doing 0.4 just because I do 0.2 layers, and 0.4 is 2 0.2 layers, and that seems to work pretty good on my machine. Okay, so linear extrude, and I can do a circle, and this should be the same size circle for the outer circle. So I'll just do it like this, and we'll see. Right now, if I just do this, it'll cover it up and look black. Boom. We're going to want to do a difference. You know, in my original one, I don't know if I actually even did. Oh no, I did do it black. Looks like it's 2 off. Cool. Okay, so I can do a difference. That's going to say, hey, the first one is your starting point, your starting object. Everything after that, you can have multiple ones will be deleted from it. So I could have multiple things that will delete. And so I want to delete an inner circle. Rather than 99, it's like 97. Boom, and there is my ring. Maybe I'll go a little bit more. Maybe I'll do it 96. There we go. And now that should be relative. So let me do a little relative test. Let me drop it down to 80. Sweet. Okay. So all I got left is this. The little numbers. Okay. Now back to this. Let's go put color around this because this will be our last one. Platform 9 3/4, and we'll say 0 0 0 0 0 0. So it will be black. There's nothing there yet, but we'll put something there. Okay, so now we're down there. So we have. Oh, I should probably save this because I like it way better than what I'm making right now. In fact, after I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, but I'll probably end up posting this. Depending on how far we get. Well, we'll get this part done. Also, just let everyone know, like on the doors of Durin, I add a little Wi-Fi symbol. I thought about adding a Wi-Fi symbol to this, and you could if you wanted to, but it looks so good as is. I don't know where you'd add it. You get a little dinky one down here, but if you added it too small, it might not print very well. So my thinking was if you're going to do this, you might make another one, just a circle, probably do the same thing, remove all the text, and then put a Wi-Fi thing in here, and set it next to it. I don't know, or a smaller one. I don't see a good spot to put the Wi-Fi. Okay, so we got that. And let's see what we got. So we got my font. You go look at my cheat sheet over here. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so we'll do I'll just draw text. So we'll come down section by section and we'll say the 9, which is the first one, and we'll say size. What kind of size? Ooh, I said 60. So we'll pass the diameter in, times it, times 60, divided by 160, is the size I used before. And we'll say text is going to be 0. I mean, I could just put the 9 in here, but I don't know. For some reason, I decided to do it this way. And if I do that, it would draw the text, but we're not going to see it because we need to extrude it. So we'll do a linear extrude, and well, just for kicks, I'll do 4 just so we watch it pop out, but we'll change it in a second. So if I do that in theory, is that going to work? No. Font size. I need to give a font size. Okay, not size, font size. There we go. And didn't like that. There we go. Okay, just to have it pop out. But in truth, I only want to do 0.4, and then I want to reposition it. So I'll say linear extrude 0.4, but I want to translate it. Home. 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'll say X, Y, Z, and X and Y, we're going to move it, but I won't move it yet. But in the Z, we're going to move it to the top, which should be, according to my notes, 4.2. So I'll say 4.2, and then there you go. You can see it kind of went in, but there we go. We got that 9 there. And so that's the size I want. I just need to scooch it over, and this would be a matter of playing and tweaking with it. So it looks like I came up with a -15 when I did mine over here, and it stuck it over here. But now I need to make it relative, right? So the font size, we had that relative. This will have to go diameter times 15 divided by 160. So we've got the same result. So let me, if I change it, is it doing a good job? Hopefully. And it is. Good. Lots of testing. Okay, so there's our 9. Now I'll come down, just copy this whole section, and I'll do the 3. And I'll come down here and say, rather than the 0th one, I'll do the first one. I mean, really, I could have just done that. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why. I just did it that way. And it looks like I have set the size to 25. I'll say 25. And how did I nudge it? It looks like 26 and -18. So this one, 26. And again, we'll have to do a relative. Okay, let's see, -18 divided by 160. Oh, why did you do that? Oh, this is their dumbness. Okay, so that's, oh, I'm looking at 2 things. This is my dumbness and their dumbness. Okay, that should be that. But this is a programming thing. We're dealing with a sophisticated rendering kind of thing, but maybe an unsophisticated language. And so what I did here is I have this variable font size, and I should be changing it, but basically it is changing both. This is, in my mind, this is buggy. This should not be doing it this way. So I will just say font size 1, font size 2. Or I could say font size 9. How about that? Font size 9, font size 3, font size 9, font size 3, now they're 2 variables. Hopefully that will be happy. It's happy. Well, you gotta forgive people. Like, I'm a programmer, but you know, if you're making languages, and making a language is hard, so you gotta feel for them. It's difficult. So copy that. We'll make number 4. So we'll do 4. We'll call it font size 4, and it's the same. Anyway, it's the same, so I don't really have to change it %. But then now we are -18, and I need to be the 4th one. Boom, and there we go. It looks like I'm hitting the side there. I don't know if that's gonna be a problem. I should probably nudge it a little bit. Let's see, 26, 24. This is on purpose. Oh. I don't know why it's on purpose. It seems like a weird language. Oslo just posted in the chat, says, the Openscad dev said this is on purpose. I wonder why. Seems strange to me. Okay, so we got the 3 and the 4. Now I just need the dash in between. So I could go do that with a font. I could do the text, but hey, it's a square. Why don't I just do a square, right? So I will go make a square, and I will kind of copy what I did before. I'll make a... Now this is a funny thing, you know, for being very mathematical, for other reasons, but there are such things as immutable by default languages. Oh, they're being immutable. But then it should be an error. If you want to be in, sorry, Oslo, I say, I'm not sure if I follow their reasoning, but there are such things as immutable by default languages. If you want them to be immutable, though, making it doesn't change, yeah, I'd have to go, it is what it is. So I'm not going to go redesign their tool, right? They've made some design decisions, and that's what they've done. Now here's a funny thing. You know, funny thing is, I'm making a rectangle with their square function, but we all think of squares. They should, you know, a square is a special case of a rectangle. So it's kind of weird them being math leads if they say square to make a rectangle. They should say rectangle to make a square, because a rectangle is a special case of that. Okay, so we have translate 2601, 23. Linear extrude, which is going to extrude it all the way up. I don't want to do that, so I'll say 0.4, and I'll say 4.2. But now I need to change this to be relative. So I'll say diameter times 26 divided by 160, because I want that to move. And then the same thing here. Times 20 divided by 160, diameter times 3 divided by 160. Yeah, just confusing. You're right, I was like weird, confusing. So let me, oh, it didn't show up. Let's see. Extrude. Oh, doesn't matter which way they go. I'll just do it this way. It shouldn't matter. Those are the same thing. So why didn't you show up? Okay, if I translate it, can I extrude? Anyway. Okay, there I got platform 9 3/4. Boom, boom, boom. Look at that. We're done. And I like the colors. That is so cool. So, but now, let me do one more test. We're relative. So let's see. I'll go down to 70. It's all looking good. Sweet. Now, one thing, if you're doing font on here, like I like to keep things simple on my printer. I agree with you, Oslo. Oslo just said it should give an error instead of silently failing. Yeah, it should give an error. If you want to reassign a variable, it should say no. You should. It should be an error. If they want to be immutable, that should be an error saying, hey, you can't reassign. This is immutable. It can't. Mutable. It can't change. So yeah, that's, to me, that's weird. Because yeah, it just, as a programmer, it confused me. And as, you know, a kid trying to do this, boy, you'd be like, you know, the last guy wins. That's just, that's confusing. Okay, 5 from 9 3/4. There we go. So we have that. Now, let me change this up to 100. And let me save it. So let me save this file. And then now I'll render it. Now when I render it, I should lose all my colors. But it takes a while to render now. Just gotta do all the font stuff and be all precise. Hopefully it's happy. This might take a moment. It looks like we're still under 2 hours or an hour and a half. So the next thing, which I wanted to do first, well, I'll get this rendered and I'll pull it into a slicer to show my thinking on how I'm slicing it layer by layer. And then do I have the colors? I should have black, white. I should have the colors. Maybe I should put this out just because it's cool. You know what? My niece would go gaga for this. She is a Harry Potter fan. So black I have, white I have, red I have. Yeah, I'm totally gonna put this out. My daughter will steal it too. Someone's gonna steal it. It's Harry Potter. Come on. But it's also a nice case for this. I'm trying to render it for the Prusa Mini, which is probably what I'll put up online. And it's easy enough to resize. You know, you bring something in, you push a button. But I'll probably try to make this, I'll try to maximize this as big as I can for mine. And the easy thing is I can just change this diameter and make it the size I want. Or, you know, later on this year, Prusa's, not this year, hopefully next year, Prusa's making a giant printer. I don't know if that's going to be in my budget, you know, but if it is, you can print a giant one, which would be kind of cool. With just, now, you know, in the slicer, you can resize it too, easily enough, but it's nicer to do it here too. Okay, slowly, almost there. 978 out of 1,000. But once we slice this, and I show you that, I think I might have enough time to show you the passcode. So I put up a passcode, and so that one's a little bit simpler, but it does have a factor in there. So it's something you could teach some kids on some things. In fact, doing the passcode version sign, you could do a real easy one, and there's one where you could do angles, which you learn, you have to do some sines and cosines to figure out what to do best. So you can get a correctly thick line. Come on. Slowly. 978. That's the one thing I have against Openscad. They're very precise. I like that. But sometimes you have complex models rendering just going to be slow. There's some things just that are really hard to do. And some things you think would be more complex aren't. But anyway, it works. Also, I have a video out there where you know, you can call it from the command line. So you could pass that variable in and just make a file. You don't even have to open this up. So you could write a little piece of code, a little tiny script that says, hey, send in different diameters and just make 4 different sizes like that. Which I guess would make a lot more sense for the passcode. Well, almost. Oh, come on. You're stuck at 978. Come on. That last little bit. Oh, you probably can't see that because my head's floating over it. But it's got that last little bit, 978. But also, just to let people know, this FN number, the level of detail, the higher you make that, the slower it's going to run. I've been using the 100 kind of as my go-to because it's got 2 zeros and makes me happy. But your mileage may vary. Probably 50 is more than enough. Come on, render. Well, while that renders, let me open a new screen here, and I will go, let's see, hopefully I have my taco holder. There you go, passcode. I got my passcode. And people. So we'll start writing the passcode version. Oh, now we're done. Cool. Yeah, and see we lost all our color, which is fine. But now I'll save the STL file, platform, set to my desktop, hit save, and then, come on, thinking, there we go. And let me bring it into Prusa Slicer, which this is the one I was fiddling with earlier today, but let me go delete this, drop that in, boom. So here's the slicer. So we want to, because I don't have a multicolored printer, and also I want to keep things simple, I have to change out the color by layer. So here we are in Prusa Slicer. I can say, I don't even do anything special. Print settings, let me make sure I'm not doing anything special. 20%, and I got, but nothing special is going on. I think I'm pretty default. Layers and primers, there we go. And let me drop it back. 2 primers is default. I don't think I need anything special with that. And hit slice. Oh, Oslo just said, most of the time, anything above 100 gives you more detail than the printer is capable of. Yeah. And here's something you want to test. Oh, here, I just happened to remember my layers. Let me kill those. Let me kill those so I can start from raw. If you look at this, you want to think about how can it do, how well is it going to do text? And so I'm doing, the typical nozzle, 0.4 millimeters. I might have said that wrong. The generic nozzle, which I think is 0.4, and I try to keep things simple. So if this text is going to come out okay, it looks like. If anything smaller, it might, cut things out. So you have to think about that. So now let's go. Yeah, your students need reminding. There you go. Okay, so now let me pull this up over here and look at my layer cheat sheet. So I'm going to go up here to the first 3 millimeters is going to be black. So I'll go over here to my slicer. I'll kind of go back and forth on this. So what we want is, so I'll go up here, 0.4. Here you can see over here. Hopefully, let me pull this over just to make sure everyone can see it. Here I'm at 1.2, 1.4. Let me keep going. You can see there's my channel now. Now I'm at 3.0. So 3.0 is the last black layer I want. This is not where I add my change. I added at 3.2. 3.2, it changes at the beginning of that level. So as it goes to level 3.2, it stops. And then it says, okay, now change my filament. So I want 3.2, not 3.0. And then I want 3.6, so add another bit to that, 3.8. And so that will be my first, there we go, 3.6. This will be my first red layer. So we can see here is black, and then get my brain in gear, red. So black, and there's my red background. And then here's my first white layer, white, and if we look over here, 4.2 would be my black layer. But see, this is still white, so let me go up one more. There's my first black layer, and you'll see that gives me what I want. So I will, now I can slice it again, and then export the G code, and it's got all my changes in there. So I'll save it to my desktop. But I think I actually want to increase the size. So this will work, but I just want to show that, get those layers going. so you can see it. Now, one thing I tried to figure out this morning, but I haven't done it. Here, you know, you do these layers, and they set the print. They set a color. You know, here's red, orange, yellow, and green, just so you can see them. There's got to be a way to change that, but you know, I looked around this morning for a couple minutes, and I couldn't find it. But there's got to be a way to change that so you can see what the look would kind of look like a little better. Anyway, so I'm going to print this out the next day, and also the next day or two, you know, I'll probably print it out so I have a nice, good example, so I can take a nice picture of it, and then I'll put it up. Once I have an example, then I'll put it on Thingiverse and on Prusa. But if anyone's, you know, itching for it, I'll put out the code. You just have to yell at me, or you can watch the video and watch, you know, build the code yourself. Um, in fact, maybe as part of, you know, as part of this, I should do that. So let me go into github.com, boom, and let me, hopefully, I'm just going here. Even though this will eventually be in Thingiverse and all that, that's probably the nicer way to get it. Let me put it in here as a gist in GitHub, so you can, and I'll put a link here right now in the chat, so if anyone wants to grab it, they can grab it. So let me get my brain. So I need to go add a new gist, and I'll say platform Openscad platform 9 3/4. 9 and 3/4, whatever. Okay, let me go open up the Openscad we just did. Copy all that, paste all that, create a public gist, and then I can post it here in the channel, and anyone should be able to grab it. I really like that. Okay. Cool. So now we got all that going. Life is good. Now, let's see. I got a little bit of time. Now for the passcode, which I'm going to pretty much copy what the doors of During right now. So you can go here to the doors of During, and there is the passcode file. So the passcode Openscad. So you can download that and do the same thing we're doing. But we'll recreate it here for this video to go through it. Okay, let me put up my cheat sheet over here. So this one, we have the width equals, let's see, I'll say 170, the width of this sign, and the height is going to equal 34.8. Okay, well, I write that, but okay. I'll make it 35. I don't know why I did that. I was probably tweaking a little bit. Okay, now the edge. If you look at this sign, there's this little edge that goes all the way around. So how thick do you want that edge? So I'll say 3 for 3 millimeters, and I said the depth. Well, you probably don't need to do the depth. Will be just do 2 millimeters. Okay. This is where we can do some fun math. So we'll say we'll use the word base again. So we'll make a module, call it base, and we'll pass in a width and a height. And to make sure we did it correctly, we'll just echo that out. Echo width, echo height. And if I run that, let's see. Oh, well, I didn't call it. Duh. Now we'll say base, width, height. There we go, 170/35. Cool, that worked. Okay, so we want to make that big. So let me go see what I got here. And this one I did a bunch of polygons. So there's the easy one and the hard one. Okay, we'll do the polygon. Because what we want to do is I wanted to, this is interesting for class to do some geometry because I could have just made this a square. That's pretty easy, and then use that to make an inner square. But the minute that you put this angle in here, you got to do a little bit of algebra to make sure that this depth, this width, the width there is consistent. So I can come over here and I can say, let's say polygon, 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 points, points, equals, boom, and we put all these points in here, all right? And there, and there. Okay, and then we'll say an extrude, say a linear extrude, and we'll say, we're just gonna make this 2 millimeters. We'll permanently make it 2. Yeah, because we want to do that, and we'll subtract from that. I'm gonna make this slightly better than what it was. Okay. Get my brain in gear here. I could copy and paste. It's more fun to try to recreate it. So what we have here is we have all these little points that go around. Let's see if I can. So first we can start. We have these points. Boom, boom, one. You know, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, and it's easy enough to do the perimeter. So we'll come in here and we'll say, okay, we're going to start at 0x, and we'll go up angle. What is it? Angle. And we'll make a, I call it angle, that's not a right way to say it. And we'll just say, yeah, I'll say angle. I don't like that. I'll say I'll that's the total height. This is the, I'll make it relative. So angle equals, it's not really truly an angle. I don't know why. I'll say it's going to be the height times 8 divided by 35. That's why I can, don't need to change. I can change the height without changing this angle again. And we'll pass in the angle, which is really not an angle. So we say 0, which really is just a nudge going up a little bit. So we'll say 0. Man, what's a better word? Angle's not the right word. It's going to get me in trouble because it's not really an angle. We'll call it nudge. We'll call it nudge. That's better. Nudge, nudge, nudge. So if I do that 0 nudge, that is this point right here. So we've nudged it up a little bit. And then we're going to go to the next one, which would be the height minus a nudge. And so we'll say 0 should be height minus a nudge. Oh, and I gotta put a comma there. I don't have to put a comma at the end, but I'm going to because it makes my brain easier as I add more stuff. And then I need to add at least one more before I can see anything. And so that one, and I want to add this one, which should be a nudge over and the height, because there's a 45-degree angle. So I'll say it is a nudge over and it's the height. Boom. And if I run this, hopefully I get something. I get an error. What do you not like? That's something undefined. Width, height, nudge. 115. I'll just put numbers in here. just to make sure I'm doing something. Okay, something got done, so let's piece that back together. Doesn't like nudge. There we go, cool, I didn't pass it in as a variable. So it's available, but I didn't pass it in. That would be, there you go. Let me go, put everything back in, undo what I did, and then pass in a nudge. Boom. There we go, so we got that one. So we're on the right track. And then we want the next point, which is going to be way over here, is to be the width minus the nudge. Width minus nudge. And height. Boom, boom. And then we have width, the next one. The width, but then the height minus the nudge. And then we have the width and nudge. Right? And then we have width minus nudge and 0. I come back around and I say, I'm still at 0, so I say nudge and 0. I think it gets me all the way around. Cool. Boom, boom. There we go. Now I've got that. And it's easy enough to fix, so should be relative now, so I can make my height different. I can make it 60. And I should have relative nudges, so there we go. Cool. Okay. So we got that. Oh, I should save that. Passcode. So we got that going on. But now that's our very base. Now the next thing will be our black. We want to make our black border. So we can make this same thing. Well, in fact, we could make this slightly higher. So we want that. We can make it 2.4, make it slightly higher, and then we could subtract the inside. So we can make this thing, make a smaller one, and make it inside and subtract it. Now there are some things you can do with scaling, but I want to be precise here. So I have this is my main one, and I want to subtract one from it. So I'd say that, we want to linear extrude that, which is fine, and we want to difference, there we go, difference this guy from whatever the next thing will be. And this one we're going to want to do a translate, because you always start at the base, x, y, z, boom, boom, boom. And so x, we won't move that, will be at 0, will be at 0, and z will be at 2. And then we're going to do a linear extrude. We'll kind of copy this whole thing. Linear extrude. Oh, where are you? Yes. We'll translate. Do linear extrude, except for we are going to do a 0.4. 0.4. Yes. And so now if I did this, they're exactly the same at the moment. So it basically would just cut off that top. So I ran this. It should shrink ever so slightly. How do I have to do that? Make it extrude then translate. Does it matter? I don't think it matters. Let's see. Go from the side. And if I comment this section out, it should be taller, right? No. trim that. If I do 0, 0, 0, it should cut off the bottom. It's not liking that either. Stop that. Okay, we'll see how far I get. Oh, I'm at the 2-hour mark. Ugh. Okay, I'm at kind of the 2-hour mark, so I'm probably going to kind of call it a day here. But the other code's out there, and I'll probably fiddle with this. One thing about the code that I wanted to show in this is if all you do is merely take this nudge and then also move the edge over, but that's not enough. That if you do that, that works on the top and the bottom and the sides, but not on this angle. So if you just move these points over by 3, you end up with this little line right here, ends up being the wrong thickness. And so you have to figure out what the angle is and then adjust it based on that, anyway, it's on the other one. So maybe I'll just show this. I'll show this real quickly. So this is the one that's out there right now. The other thing I was hoping to do if I had time was to go download a Harry Potter font. In fact, I'll probably do that afterwards. I'll probably remake this code and fix it a little bit, and then download a Harry Potter font as an example. But that's not going to help you because you have to go download it yourself. So I'll put a link. In fact, I could put a link to this right now, right? And he says in theory. So there's these Harry Potter fonts I found. So you'd have to download those, install them, and then you could use something like this Harry Potter font for your password, which would be kind of cool. But then even once you get that going, because right now in Openscad, there's no font metrics. I can't calculate the size of letters. If I could make this automatically adjustable. I can't. So if I come down here and I change my password to Harry for Harry Potter, it's going to center it, which is nice, but now this is really big. That might be okay. You might be okay with that blank space, but it is going to take out. I'm going to totally spell Voldemort wrong. I think that's right. If I make it big, it can't automatically resize. So based on this, you'd have to choose your font. You'd have to tweak your width. It will center it, so there's nicety to that. You tweak your width to get what you want, and also to change your you have to sit there and tweak your font size, because if you choose different font, might not fit very well. So that's the bad thing about this. There's no font metric, so there's a little bit of tweaking to get it the right size based on what password you want. Also, depending on what font you use, not all fonts have all characters. So if you have a if you have a exclamation point in your passcode, that font may not have bothered to define an exclamation point. So you need to look at things like that. And if that's the case, like I downloaded one, it didn't have some of my special characters I use. And so I had to go tweak my own code. So I have a personal thing that I did where it didn't do a special character that I used. And so I actually had to go use a different font and then just put in that one character. Just to let everyone know. So I was hoping I'd have more time to show you guys this, but the important thing is that this is relatively easy compared to the Harry Potter one. The Harry Potter one, I'm so glad we learned colors, because that's just cool. I'm gonna render it right now. Look at that. It's got color. Yes. Yeah, Oslo just pointed out, I would super duper like the ability to measure the size of things like letters within the code. Yeah, it's a huge thing for me. I bring it up because I'm one of the weird guys who's had to deal with font metrics a long time ago. A long time ago, I was writing some code in Java, just on a personal note, to do Japanese lettering. And so in a lot of languages like Java or different things, there's libraries to calculate the fonts. And boy, if you ever get deep into fonts, there's a lot of guys who work really hard on the fonts that make things work. You wouldn't realize how much work there is done. But when you have a font metric, you'd have to calculate. There's all these different little sizes and things to figure out what the size of a font is, and it's not fresh in my mind. But if they added things like that, then yeah, then you could easily, you know, resize things. So I could have gone in. Well, how do I do this? If I'd have to think how you would do it in Openscad, but if Openscad was a language as sophisticated as Java, I could go in here and say, you know what, I have this much space to put a 9, and I could write some code saying, hey, make it fit. You know, resize it as big as I can go to fit in here, and I wouldn't have to, excuse me, fiddle with things like that. But um, yeah. Font metrics, some kind of font metrics, it gets complicated. That's maybe why they haven't done it, because to do it right, you got to go full bore. And there's a lot of little things about fonts that I've had to deal with at one point years ago, and I barely, you know, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I just know I dealt with it. That's why I bring it up. But yeah, it'd be something. It'd be nice if they added that. But anyway, okay, cool. I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna go get dinner. But boy, this was cool. I'm glad you guys showed up and had a little bit of chat, and I'm glad that we did this color thing. That is cool. Anyway, okay. I guess with that, I'm gonna go kill the live chat, and this video will render and be up there so people can watch it later. There's a link. I put the link here in the chat so people can go download the code right now. And I'll probably print this the next day or two. And once I do that, I have a nice example. It'll all be on Thingiverse. And probably with some links to some Harry Potter stuff. Yep. Good night, Osboy. I will end the stream now. Bye, guys. Have a good night.